Welcome back to the video, and with officially today going to be the release of Reign of Bahamut, we're going to be talking about the winners and losers of this set. And we actually have a special guest located over here who's also part of the Chuuni clan, Twintail. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good evening, everyone, or good morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this.
Yeah, and before we get started to talking about the winners and losers of this set, we'd like to remind you all that on Saturday at 6 p.m., myself and Twintail, more so Twintail for the top 8, will be commentating the Shadowverse Evolve Grand Prix in Chiba, happening their autumn seasonal tournament, so really excited to go see what stuff that JP has cooking over there.
Especially since they just came out of a collab release of all things.
Yeah, and with that being said, let's talk about more stuff within Reign of Bahamut. So, the first winner I'm going to go talk about overall is Swordcraft. I think a lot of people have unanimously said Swordcraft has gotten the best support out of Reign of Bahamut. Stuff like Albert, Levin Saber, Alexander, Amelia Silverpound, like almost every single card, mainly in the gold and the legendary section, have really shined off.
And let's not forget the one and only Leonidas.
Yeah, Leonidas has been...
Is that something when Busher and Side Games say for Season 2 of the ongoing Championship Showdown? Champions are going to get a special Leonidas.
Yeah. So, what I think about overall this set, mainly it's not like such more so a change of quality of life. It's just extra pieces to go on with the different firepower. The more curious part I'm wondering though is for Swordcraft players, as me doing a theory crafting stream earlier in the week, there's a lot of different stuff that people have kind of been ditching in favor of a lot of the Reign of Bahamut stuff. What say you?
I could see why, because here's my personal interpretation of the development of Swordcraft from Advent of Genesis to Reign of Bahamut. Because a lot of people were going, okay, the matchup that we need to respect the most is Dragoncraft, which is a control-heavy strategy during Advent of Genesis. So a lot of Sword players found it more successful to play it's still primarily a mid-range deck in concept, but it will try its hardest to play for aggro, especially against the Dragon matchup, because if Dragon doesn't have enough things to deal with the onslaught of storm cards or cheap drops, let's say Quick Blader, Ninja Trainee, Novice Trooper, etc., they just pretty much died before they could reach turn 6 or turn 7 to be able to start healing with things like Shenhong.
Yes, correct. And I really think, too, the big thing heading up into the set is just a lot of going wide. It's a similar concept to Royal Banner, but I think people are kind of a bit misguided overall. They think that this is like a better, thorough version of Royal Banner. Leonidas will take some time, is thoroughly the issue.
The thing with Leonidas is this. You have to retool the deck to be able to reach the turn where he'll be most active, which is turn 6, turn 7.
Correct.
And on top of that, you have to make sure that you're not going up against something with banners like Havencraft.
Yeah, or like an execution to even just try to shut down stuff like Leonidas' Resolve, which is I think a lot of plays that people are going to prop.
Right. I mean, again, Havencraft just be like, act less like DC crap. We don't need to worry about no Leonidas Resolve.
Yeah, and I really think too that just the amount of stuff that it has, like Albert Levin Saber's restand utilization, and then Alexander being able to kind of be like the main swing on the follower, then restand. This is not once per turn, by the way, which is really surprising. I really thought that this was a once per turn skill.
It makes sense because the Stage University says he swings up to 14 times a turn.
that's really crazy.
It says specifically 14.
Yeah, and then just like to finish it off, the Amelia Solar Paladin, very good consistency engine, and Advent Blader too.
Again, it just goes to show that across both the digital and Evolve, that they're going, we will make Swordcraft the toolbox class.
Yeah. All right, with that
On top of that,
transition.
we also get introduced to the Shield Guardian token in this set. On top of that,
Yeah.
White Paladin.
Yeah, let me go
You,
pull
you
up
just
here,
get a
right
bunch of
here.
cheap. You get a bunch of cheap 1/1 wards. So
Yeah.
good.
I'm actually kind of not high on this card, personally. But I kind of see the reason why in the more slower version of that. But I feel like the direction really Sword is going right now is
Shield
still their
Guardians,
aggro.
Spawning Shield Guardians still let you go wide, which is what Sword overall wants to do.
Yeah. Alright, with that being said, let's get on to a loser of this set, which... It's really hard to say this, but honestly it has to be Forestcraft. Now, the reason why I am going to be giving Forestcraft the L here is because I feel like these pieces are overall solid. Don't get me wrong. However, this is not the specific support that will really help thoroughly elevate Swordcraft or Forestcraft this set. And why I'm seeing this is because in a previous Grand Prix, around when they kind of started the Grand Prix Section 2, no one was really throwing in Forest. And the reason why, too, is because you don't have a lot of pieces that kind of like rev up the engine coming out for the set. On top of that, Roach is really not going to be a good deck. I'm still going to continually say it for a while, but in set 2, I don't think Roach is going to be good. So they're going to have to kind of rely more so on a control thorough base. You have a lot of different stuff to utilize. You also have the Crystallia Eve, which basically will make it like a pseudo Zenitra utilization. And you have some other stuff that can work, like giving Pixie followers extra additions. I feel like people are just going to go utilize more so the Fairy Engine. But overall, like, sure, you have stuff too, like Elf Bard, and also a underrated card, I'm trying to find there, Rose Deer right here, will really help a lot of the Queen Engine. I just don't think this will be enough to really put over Forest into a more playable usage. Though, I could be wrong because in the latter stages, people have been picking up Forestcraft just because they've kind of realized that there's a lot of different playstyles with Forest, but honestly, I really don't think this support is that flashy overall.
So I need to talk in both the context of the digital game as well as Evolve for what I'm about to say here. So we agree that Reign of Bahamut was pretty early on in the component cards that make up Ring of Bahamut from the digital game. That was kind of early on in Shadowverse Digital's career. And the problem was very early on in Shadowverse Digital's career, there was a problem with a deck called Path to Purgatory Fairy Force, which you just pretty much spawn a bunch of fairy tokens, smash them into your opponent's stuff, and on turn like 8 or so, you plop down Path to Purgatory and burn 6 turn after turn after turn until they die. And that was kind of an unfair deck from what I observed when looking up the history of the digital game. So side games felt, okay, we have to not make Forest super OP moving forward. Hence why they had to kind of, instead of being strict upgrades to stuff that they established early on, they had to go, okay, this is going to be more side grades.
Yeah, that's what it feels like overall.
Which is why, again, as Rikka alluded to, the Crystallia engine is pretty different.
It's not bad, and you'll see in future sets, you'll see that the Crystallias will be utilized in more of the coming up decks of Forestcraft.
Right, but the game with Crystallia, especially right here in Evolve, is it's not the most consistent game due to it being a top 2 check versus it grabs randomly or just spawns the token automatically or something.
Yeah.
And I get it. Evolve's trying to go. Let's not have Forestcraft overlap with the toolbox capability of Swordcraft. I understand.
Yeah. Plus, I also think that the condition of Tia is a bit tedious. You have to combo 3 rather than have like that, because you can't really evolve this card until you've got your Crystallia Eve token, or maybe you have an existing token, and then the Crystallia Eve is basically just used, as I said before, like a dragon coming out from Zenitra getting rush. And anything else on top of that?
the main problem is really the majority of the Forestcraft cards in Ring of Bahamut do not directly benefit the Fairy Temple or Fairy Control decks that we've been seeing pop in and out of the Advent of Genesis format, and they kind of force you to go, I need to retool my deck from the ground up to make use of stuff like the Crystallia engine.
Correct. And then also going to the Rhinoceros OTK build, again, I really don't think it has... I mean, it's always been a shaky deck, but personally, with so many answers coming out of Reign of Bahamut, I do not see a lot of optimism for it.
I think the main problem with slight tangent. I think the main problem with Rhinoceros as a card is I'm gonna kind of like borrow a Magic the Gathering slang here. Rhinoceros hashtag dies to snipe, as in angelic snipe.
Yeah,
My problem with cards, like, I get it, it could be like Omega Huge, Restore, whatever. The problem with a card with such low defense in Evolve specifically is the fact that an opponent can hold up as little as one play point, and you have to go, shoot, I need to respect Angelic Snipe or some other one-drop quick that can just automatically kill Rhinoceros when it attempts to attack face.
Yeah, what's really sad truth too about Rhinoceros is that you can do all this thorough work, but then if that work gets ruined for that, like say you got like, I don't know, 6 cards played in that one turn, and then it just gets ruined off by a snipe or such. Compare that to like other cards that have thorough low defense, like Forte, which is a 3 defense. It does have aura, so that's the big benefit of it. The issue is that Rhinoceros does not have that same leeway overall.
Right. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, even in the JP card pool, there's no way to grant Rhinoceros aura, right?
Yeah. But anyways, I think that's pretty much a good use of Forest. I honestly think that, though, I will stress this is still pretty solid for the long term. If you're thinking of it in a long-term sense, Forestcraft did alright here. But honestly,
you can make the argument that, especially if you prefer more of a tempo control style of Forest, Grand Archer Selwyn is a pretty nice mainstay, I believe.
Let me go put that over here. Yeah, right here. And then, yeah, you can deal stuff 5 damage with a combo. And then, yeah, you can destroy also through Gust or less.
Because, like, the guy you do it right could unironically 1 for 3.
Yeah, and this is also a potential substitute for Robin Hood, which I personally am kind of a mixed bag with Robin Hood, but it's around the same cost use, but you do have to evolve to make the benefit. But anyways, that's going to be pretty much it for talking about that. Let's get to another winner. So another winner within this set, I honestly personally think that Haven's entry barrier is pretty good heading into this set. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, personally, I feel like if we go back to Advent of Genesis, the main issue with this set in particular is basically playstyles going to more so getting falcons and tokens and such of that, like as you see over here, Storm, trying to find some good example, like there, Holy Sentinel within the Tiger, and really mostly just utilizing a lot of the token thorough presence. I feel like that's kind of turned off people overall, and the reason why I say that is because I really think that this is a bit more of a one-dimensional playstyle. You're playing thoroughly semi-hard control, but honestly, with coming into Reign of Bahamut, you get a lot of good thorough different pieces. You get Alana, which we'll talk about more later on. You get a Statuary of Sarah, which is another amulet, but honestly, this is a really cool amulet, I will say. And you get some nice follower pieces, which I'm more so glad for. Heavenly Aegis is a very good card. You'll definitely see these for Haven players at your locals coming out. But honestly, you get more of that follower presence, like Kaguya, for example. This is kind of what I wanted to see more of Haven get. I don't like the thorough amulet playstyle because that kind of turned myself off, only because all you're just doing is having tokens, cracking them, and just getting like main other tokens like Falcon or Tiger. But honestly, if you like more of the follower usage, I would definitely give Haven a thorough shot. What say you?
Alright, I have quite a bit to say if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Because I personally know quite a number of people who have been doing their very best to cook with Advent of Genesis Havencraft. And I was talking to one-on-one for minutes on end, after locals or what have you, about what to do in that particular deck. And I feel the main struggle with Advent of Genesis is not necessarily the quote-unquote barrier of, oh, I'm forced to play a bunch of amulets, but it's more of,
Well, it's amulets and tokens, basically.
yeah, amulets and tokens. There's something inherently wrong with that. Swordcraft
Yeah, there isn't. But I just feel like it's not like. Oh, go ahead.
They play what? They generate knights, Steelclad knights, Vikings sometimes, sort of tokens. They've been doing fine.
Yeah.
The problem is, I would argue, personally, despite what Rikka says, that the tokens and the emblems are not the inherent problem, but it's more of, shoot, I have all this stuff to extend the game, but how do I win the game?
True. You can't just rely on Falcon the entire time. As
You cannot go, oh, my holy targets are going to survive into my next turn.
Keep in mind, Falcon does not scale. That's the big issue about it's just a 2/2 hit in.
It can scale, you just need to pop off a Jean d'Arc.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not as reliant.
Okay, sorry. Jean d'Arc does not scale attack, correct?
Yeah, that doesn't. It just scales defense.
It makes your storm a 2/4 instead of a 2/2.
Yeah, true. But that's also another. Yeah, I agree with you though, because on the issue with Havencraft, it just cannot finish games. You do all this effort, you can't finish off.
Here's where I will allude to Rikka's thing about followers. Is that sometimes you have this weird conflict of, okay, I spent resources to activate Holy Sentinel to make a 4/4 Tiger with Ward. And then you also go, do I have enough resources to also play Jean d'Arc and evolve her to grant my Tigers the plus defense to make them a little scary? You know, a 4/6 can't be wiped by the likes of Confrontation or Alchemic Lore.
What I also think too is that people are also kicking out Moon Mirage very quickly this next set. But
Mirage is a card that makes you go, this look kind of big.
I mean, it's not just that. It's just like also that's your only throw amount of reach. Let's be honest. The new cards here have way better reach right now.
Here's the thing, right? Okay, a Statue Seraph plus Heavenly Aegis against a lot of matchups that almost always auto-win games.
Yeah. And that's why I really think Haven is going to be a big crush, especially for people playing in the regionals post this set's release. You'll definitely see a good amount of Haven heading into the regional.
Like, this is why I feel Reign of Bahamut is going to slowly start accelerating the game, especially here in English, where they're going to be like, okay, how do we beat Heavenly Aegis? Trick question. We don't. We destroy the player before they could even pop off Heavenly Aegis.
Yeah. But overall, I think that's just on one.
Rikka, have you ever heard of the saying? Sometimes it's not field removal we need, it's player removal.
Yeah. And again, if you want a really hard control throw deck, then go ahead and go into Haven. It looks like one of the best options.
You are still playing cards like Black Ink Scripture, the Tribunal of Good and Evil.
Like we're not taking out tokens in general, anyways. We're just not relying on these tokens.
Acolytes, like those are still powerful Haven cards. Nemesis effing Decree, oh my lord.
Yeah, no, like I'm saying this is like you're not relying super much on like amulet presence and also some of your tokens to help you win thorough games. You have more alternate barrier conditions, and that's why I think that will.
You hopefully do not need to rely on Dark Offering to prolong the game one turn longer.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like too these are like thorough grade bait pieces. Heavenly Aegis, taking out aura if it because assumingly you would probably evolve this on the turn you play it, but like this is a good bait piece. There's a lot of different bait pieces. Seraph is a bait piece. Like there's a lot of great utilizations for your opponent to go proc a lot of resources to really deal with these.
If I may ask really quick, right? What can a player do against Inspector Seraph since it can't be destroyed?
I think more so they should have to try to win the game out thoroughly outright.
So basically, instead of saying it's base, well, I'm putting the player on a cork.
Yeah, basically this is like countdown in the game. Like the issue is though, if you're really out of reach in the game, guess what? Seraph can just survive you. Remember, this goes off on 6. so turn 6, you can just see a Seraph and you could be thoroughly afraid, I will say. So
I had to end up before we hit the 10th turn.
Yeah, but overall, that's why I'm just saying I think the entry barrier for a lot of people probably more jumping onto Haven. That's why I didn't get into Haven to start. I would have played that if I wanted to go really thorough control because it was a pretty good meta for control the last set. This set I think controls even better. So I really think that people will be jumping onto Haven pretty well overall.
But I will like say a quick counterpoint is I could see English trying to speed the game up more than JP was during this specific expansion.
Yeah, but I feel like the entirety of Rhea Bahamut really got a lot of good control pieces. And that's why I kind of talked about why for like Roach and a lot of other cards that kind of rely a bit more on the thorough spam playstyle is going to kind of have some reality check into this set. So, move on to the next one. This one I'm going to have Twintail go more off on this because I'm not thoroughly an expert on some of the rune builds.
Yeah.
But is there any cards that you want to go specifically talk about or just in general?
Since we're already like on there, right? Let's talk about the new Mysteria archetype. So the Mysteria archetype, it's not horrible. The idea is we're just going to try to have reduced costs across a bunch of followers and stuff like that. And play more full board pressure versus trying to go, oh, I'm just gonna burn you for a ton of damage playing like dirt or hybrid, or okay, I'm just gonna OTK you with Dimension Shift and 3 Flame Destroyer.
Yeah.
So I do like that Mysteria kind of adds more like a mid-range-esque style of play to the Runecraft class. On top of that, I would mention that if we scroll down a tad to cards like Grand Gargoyle and Song Oracle Pascal, I would argue that the Dirt deck gets pretty nice quality of life to just allow them to buy a little more time and have a little more thorough answers to aggro decks that would otherwise aim to shut them down before they can really pop off with Erasmus and other stuff like that for the finish. On top of that, we scroll back up to Daria Dimensional.
Okay, I will say this is a key card from the set. I will honestly say I really like this card personally.
I don't know if you notice this when you play against spell chain decks or even hybrid dirt spell chain decks. Is a somewhat recurring theme you see when you go up against those decks is my hand kinda big or garble.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pay some play points to play Altered Fate.
Yeah, but also at the same time too,
the problem is before we bring up like what Daria Dimensional Witch does for the class overall is the problem with Altered Fate is unlike the digital game, it shuffles the cards back versus discarding them. So those do not count towards spell chain. Whereas with Daria Dimensional Witch, because she discards your hand,
correct.
Those
That's what I was going to talk about.
Add to your spell chain count, which is very good for obviously spell chain decks, along with the kind of popular like on and off the hybrid dirt spell chain deck.
Yeah. And overall, too, that's kind of your goal. A lot of people like to pop Daria early. This is what I remember for some Set 2 gameplay. People like to pop Daria early, and then that gets them faster to D-Shift, which is their main thorough
Because,
win con.
you might have noticed that along the last month or even month and a half of Advent of Genesis, we see D-Shift just kind of
Wilter.
slope away.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you too.
It's kind of just kind of like, why would I play D-Shift when I can just keep my spell chain count and play cards like Mythical Golem?
Yeah, and I feel like too, it's just as we talked about the predictability of Haven, we also have to say Rune is also kind of thoroughly predictable. I mean, a lot of the decks were predictable in set one.
Dahlia Dimensional Witch, like, okay, it's not as obvious as a statue Seraph in Havencraft, but she does also kind of say you're to the opponent.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of gives a warning sign. That's kind of the issue with, like, these cards are pretty good on paper, but I would also say that if you are being played on the clock, you kind of could overthink scenarios. That's kind of like how you're trying to, like, you know, checkmate your opponent on that.
And on top of that, right, Spell Chain decks also gained a nice quality of life in Root Wind. You know, it's just another
Rhyme Wind, yeah. Oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, I remember this card. This is also really popular in the Kuan deck right now, I believe.
It makes sense. It's a very good early answer to things that are trying to outspeed you.
Yeah. So I will also say that just like Forestcraft, you do have a lot of good long-term pieces though, like Rhyme Winds. Let me take a look at some of the other ones too. I know Surefire Bullet. We'll get to Surefire Bullet later on in the set. I believe this was also a carryover, just because you wanted to get a good amount of discard and such.
It's kind of like your 4 through 6 copies of Penguin Wizard.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just some potential ideas.
Another thing I'll say is for primarily the third spell chain hybrid decks, not really an obvious giveaway because again you're playing spell chain stuff already, so the more stuff you get in the cemetery, the better. And Remy and Remy Witchy Duel, you just get to pressure your opponent a tad more with a pretty powerful Strikeform token, Strikeform Golden token, along with this just being a 4/4 evolve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like Zernitra at home.
Yeah, and of course the Earthrise is just really good to have some extra stat buff on that.
You just have extra board presence on top of your other shenanigans in the hybrid deck.
Yeah. One last thing I would like to mention on this. Actually, did you have everything kind of talked about from the sets? There's one thing I do want to talk about from the set, but I'm not sure.
I think you and I are on the same page here, but why don't you go first?
Yeah, okay. We're going to talk about this. We are also getting to pretty close to set 3. Like, it's a bit still far away, but we do have one card that is a big preview for what's to come with the future of Runecraft, which is the magical strategy, which will be Magical Pawn. This is not relevant now, but it will be relevant later.
So, BPO2 Rikka and Bahamut purposely, in order to market the Shadowverse Flame anime, they snuck in bits and pieces of the anime debut archetypes. So, Chess Room, we're going to see later King Eye, Armed, Dragoncraft, etc.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see that too, and we'll definitely talk about...
So yeah, magical strategy, very, very key starter card, very, very crucial to pop these off early as possible in the Chess Room deck. Again, stay tuned for, I suppose we're going to say losers of BPO3.
Flame of Leviathan.
Flame of Leviathan.
It's also one of my favorite sets, one of the best quality of life sets. But we'll get to that later on. Now, the next point we have over here, we're going to be talking about specifically a few cards. We're going to start to talk about cards that really have good advantage later on in the future. Stuff like Dark Angel Olivia and also Surefire Bullet. We're going to start off with Surefire Bullet. I think a lot of people, if you've watched the Shadowverse Evolve Grand Prix, have seen this card pop up so many times in almost every single class.
It's a very good aggro answer. Because, okay, let's say about this. If you're not in Dragoncraft or Havencraft, you kind of don't have good... You arguably, you're not in those three classes. you have kind of questionable answers to aggro. I mean, like, Abysscraft does have Undying Resentment.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're in Forestcraft or you're in Swordcraft and you're trying to play a slower strategy. In those classes, you go, shit.
And you don't really have like a searcher like every class with
So
Merlin.
like, for example, a more control-heavy Abysscraft deck will go, yes, I have up to 3 copies of Undying Resentment, but I could use more. So Starfire Bullet, here we are.
Yeah.
And I do like that it's 3 damage to whatever, or 4 damage to an evolve. And you know what? Have you noticed that unlike a digital game, the majority of evolutions just climb up by +1/+1 versus the +2/+2 that we see in most evolves in the digital game?
Correct. And also going a bit into theory too as well. The average around like evolve stuff that I've only seen in Magic numbers is 4 to 5. Like this card could kind of smallly miss out on more of the 5 cost, but this is a great shutdown card overall.
Right, okay. It takes out Dragon Warrior and Dragoncraft.
Yeah, it takes out a lot of different. It takes out a lot of different stuff thoroughly.
Like, it's just good generic removal, quick timing, beautiful. It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's enough. This is gonna be a super long term piece. We're even gonna probably see it at Chiba on Saturday too as well.
Bad.
And then another card, which is a legendary in the set, which I think this really deserves a legendary spot, Dark Angel Livia. I'm going to say straight up, the reason why I like this card, this is one of the best feature cards for a feature archetype in Abysscraft. And you get 2 of the following. I love a lot of these choice cards because there's nothing really like choice directly within compared to Shadowverse digital game, but this is another good use of choice card, which is what I really like from Shadowverse Evolve stuff time to time. They're not kind of like overusing them in the digital game, but you choose 2 of the following effects. You gain an evolution point. Keep in mind, if you go first, you will basically get your own evolution point. Keep that in mind. You can also give your leader +3. You can draw a card, and each opponent discards a card, which is more important for the archetype I talked about.
The fact that you use 3 and 4, that's effectively a +2 on a 5/5 body. For just 5 play points. That's a lot of value if you think about it.
Yeah. I also really think that the evolution point really helps for a lot of decks that want to go first. Like, despite it being a 5 cost plop to get that evolution point, that could be enough to really help for the mid to late game overall.
Like, for example, Control Dragoncraft, which will be a mainstay into Ring of Bahamut, I reckon. Having an evolution, okay, that's one less people you gotta spend for a 4K evolve.
Yeah, and plus, what's also really cool in terms of theory as well, you can gain an evolution point. If you go first, you can gain an evolution point and then also draw a card. So that kind of catches up from turn 1, where you don't draw.
I've talked about multiple times about how they've experimented with Dragoncraft themselves throughout the Advent of Genesis format. And I don't know if you feel this way personally about Dragoncraft, the control variant, but I sometimes go, okay, if I'm playing against something like Aggro Abyss, or what I think is Aggro Abyss, I'm gonna go, if I have a choice, I'll go second. I don't want to do those evolution points.
Yes. A lot of the main decision making is like on that too. Plus, also Dragoncraft likes to go first, just so that they can ramp quicker. And honestly, they catch up with their drawing later on.
I was talking to 2 other Dragoncraft names about this myself, actually, not that long ago, where we're kind of going, okay, because in general we assume that we're going to play 1 play point ahead of our opponent, isn't it better in a nutshell that we just let you go first where possible?
Correct, yeah. I know a lot of people will think that going second is big.
That's not wrong. But before Dark Angel Olivia exists, we're kind of going, but at the same time, we don't want to give Aggro Abyss those evolution points that you just from cards from, because they could really take advantage of that.
Yeah. I did a video about utilizing your evolution points and such, but what I actually did not do a video on is about the turn specifically on which one you want to throw prioritize. And again, at the end of the day, it depends on your deck. But honestly, going first has really seen an advantage for a lot of different players. People think that on the surface level, going second has the more thorough advantage, but again, it's really thorough deck dependent.
I think what it comes down to is when it comes to going second, you just kind of go, do I want to deny my opponent the extra card draw and the extra possible resources?
Yeah, and
evolution points are a weird type of resource. They're not quite like play points.
Correct.
But for some context, they function like play points.
Yeah, that's why I'd say stuff like 4+1 or 3+1, like these types of numbers, because it's realistically actually like the total number is how much you're paying, but you're basically paying an alt cost.
We also kind of have to keep in mind, not all evolutions are built the same.
Exactly. You even have free evolves too.
The more I play against, say, Swordcraft in general, I go, okay, you know what? Maybe giving them the extra card draw and the evolution points, it's not all that bad versus say against aggro this.
Yeah. I will also say.
Okay, sure, they could turn 3 spawn tokens.
Yeah.
But that's not all that bad versus, okay, turn 2, eat a ghost. Turn 3, rip a card from your hand.
Or heck, you're on turn 6, I believe, and then you can just like get the +5 from Shenlong on that.
Well, I meant more if you were on the receiving end of aggro abyss, if they got the evolution points.
Yeah, but honestly, this applies to like a lot of different cards, especially the E2s and higher are really affected by like the more utilization of having evolution points.
Like a very good guard roll is your Dragoncraft, turn 4, Dark Angel Olivia because you repped, and then you pick game 1 evolution point, the other ability, who cares, and then you go turn 5, Forte Evolve.
Yeah. I will also say though, despite all the upsides within this card and the amount of flexibility, a downside is that this does feel like more of the mid to late game card. Like in late game, it can be thoroughly devastating if you have that if you do effect number 4. But honestly, too, you don't get this until at minimum if you assumingly ramp pretty well, then turn 3. But again, a lot of decks also don't have ramp, other than, of course, Dragon. So, it's always thoroughly dependent on that. Alright, other than that, I would like to give some honorable mentions as well, coming out of the neutral pool. I would like to start off with Bahamut. I know you bit disagree with this, but I personally think that Bahamut could be a nice utilization card in some decks, at least in this set. And the only reason why I say this is because you can destroy each other follower in the field, which also this bypasses Aura. Keep that in mind. And then Bahamut destroy each amulet, which counters Haven matchups. So I'm just giving this a honorable mention just because I honestly feel like some people will tech this into their decks. And honestly, I feel like there's been a lot of different theory crafting that a lot of people have been doing in English. And I feel like that they can try to find a way to split Bahamut in. The only issue, though, is where's that nice medium with Bahamut? You have anything to say on that?
Here's what I with Bahamut. Particularly for Dragoncraft, because we could play this on like turn 8 or even turn 7 if we got roll. And my thing with Bahamut is this. It's a very nice Fenrir replacement. If you were, I mean, not Fafnir, not Fenrir.
I'm gonna say too.
I get those mixed up sometimes. I don't know why. But yeah. My problem with Fafnir is sometimes that 5 damage to the opponent's board isn't enough. And, okay, if I have one more play point, Bahamut, it's all gone.
Alright, and then I guess for the remaining thing, I honestly am just going to give a shout out to the neutral pool. A lot of thorough control cards that might not be played, but honestly, give all the option. I really think that this neutral, despite with a lot of cards kind of being mid and stuff like that, let's be honest to ourselves. A lot of these cards say deal damage to follower, deal or hit leader.
Hear me out really quick, right? Scroll down really quick. I forget the guy's name.
Which one?
The Mono Simulacrum. I could see some aggro focus cards be like, I'm a turn 3 this. who cares about taking 3 damage and discarding a card at random?
Yeah. Heck, this is a sanguine usage. I considered putting this low key to my deck in a sanguine build of Abyss.
Okay, wait, real talk, like, before we go into Abysscraft period, what do you mean by a sanguine build?
Because you have stuff like Dark General, you have stuff like I can go ping myself a lot of times, plop it down.
This just sounds like aggro Abyss, man. Are we sure?
Okay, no, aggro Abyss, you have all the ghost types thoroughly. I threw out some of the ghosts. I will be completely honest with the
Phantom Howl?
No. Well, y'all can check out my builds later on. But I honestly am kind of going more of the forest. I mean, my first draft was bats, I will say, and then the second build was actually Sanguine Control. But again, that deck I have to go rework a lot. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. Any other cards to highlight? Or is it just
That's pretty much about it. Again, the goats, Surefire Bullet, and Dark Angel Olivia. If you believe Bahamut, and if you really believe the Mana Simulacrum.
Yeah, but then again, as I said, the neutral pool. If you
you're
love,
you're trolling. I'm sorry.
But honestly, if you are okay, you're really trolling. But honestly, there's a lot of different stuff that really have made this deck a lot more control focused. Wouldn't you say?
Overall, that's about.
Because the neutral pools really are saying we need a counter to everything.
It at least gives tempo and mid-range decks a little bit of.
Which is really strange because the best deck, excluding the aggro decks, of course, the best decks were basically Dragon and Haven, and they're capitalizing heavily on Dragon. Havencraft, they're just kind of getting a small it's like a retool instead of a rebuild completely. Anyways, the last thing we're going to be talking about within the loser site are the new archetypes. We kind of already mentioned talking about the Mysteria builds, which we kind of don't have to go thoroughly over. Let's talk about some of the other builds, though. Now, we have stuff like the Levins. We had some talks about this, too, but there are also other Levins. If some people did not know that, too. So, there's also that. I did also an entire video about a sale, so you can see my opinion on that.
General Levin Vanguard is the fact that it's completely random.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't want to make real searches for some stuff. Yeah. That's why Dragon Emissary is not a real search like it kind of was in a digital game.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. You're a Swordcraft. You should have the right to go through your deck.
Which is so funny because Albert is like one of the key cards coming out of the set.
Albert's so strong.
Yeah, but everything else is not that good. But
okay, General is like if and when they expand on the Levin archetype, it could go somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we did see some Levin cards in set 6 on other stream.
Scroll down to Urias Levin Duke.
Yes, I heard about this.
This was originally a Bloodcraft card in the digital game.
That's hilarious. Actually, thank you for letting me know about
that. People need to know about the actual Rage of Bahamut art lore right now because. As you could tell, Urias was part of the Levin clan at one point, but he eventually said, "Fuck y'all! I'm gonna delve into the dark arts of vampirism."
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
which is why you look up Rage of Bahamut art. There's quite a bit of it that depicts Albert and Urias fighting.
All right, but yeah, that's just a thing. Talks about the Levin. That's one of the other new archetypes. Of course, Mysteria.
Dealing 1 damage with Urias.
This is not a good skill.
The promises. Cards that were 1 defense in a digital game, a lot of them became 2 defense.
Yeah. But also at the same time too, what's the thorough value if you have no attack? Other than you have to grab it from.
He's constant removal.
And plus you have Royal Ben or Leonidas Resolve at the same time too. That's really asking for stuff.
You want a 3/7 Levin Duke.
Okay. Again, alright, we're not going to talk about this. This is not a theory crafting vid, but...
We reached meme territory.
No, we talked about that other card earlier. Anyways, then the last thing we'll go on to, this is actually a more serious one. This one has Discard Dragon has so much potential. I think too, if you are also playing the digital game of Shadowverse right now, you should be familiar with what Discard Dragon is doing, and Look at all these pieces. So we'll get to that card in a bit. But
Alright, Draco Master's Rises allows you to do something that a lot of people don't like in Shadowverse Evolve. Uncontestable burn damage.
correct, yeah. And then yeah, you have like one of the key cards, Dragoncraft, which is ironically an amulet.
This card's amazing.
This card really is good too.
You just casually spawn a bunch of 4/3s with Rush.
Yeah, and again, if you like Zenitra, this could be a nice, good copy of potentially people liking more of this than Zenitra.
You play a Disco Ancient Wizard Zenitra, so you just have like a bunch of 4 that you're probably just go. If I don't answer this sometime, I'm dead.
That's a good way of thinking it too. And then yeah, Dragon Tamer. I originally had this at 3, but it's only because it was tricky for the Evil deck.
We have Dragon New Scholar, I think was the name.
Let me try to put this back.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what the name was. I always see.
I know it's called Dragon New Scholar, but then I filtered it with the set. But we'll go back to that card at the end probably. And then
that card could see some play. Trail of Light. Oh, so good.
Oh yeah, Trail of Light is like very good within the discard.
If I'm not mistaken, speaking of Championship Show, that's Season 2. That's the participant promo, I believe.
Yeah, it's a participant promo.
Yeah, participant promo with this stuff.
For the Championship Showdown.
Yeah, Champion was something else.
Yeah, and then yeah, Imperial Dragoon again. I discussed this actually with Twintail. I was saying, is this good or is this just bad? But I think we come to the conclusion this is kind of bad.
Listen, I'll be honest about Disco Dragon, at least from what I think as of right now. I feel it's trying to win before turn 8.
Yeah, and it's not just that. The Evolve's upside is not that good. You just draw 3 cards after discarding your entire hand, which might have been saved.
My problem with Imperial Dragoon is, despite how amazing he looks, by the way, is really just, this is Shadowverse Evolve. The quality of life is just simply not there versus the digital game.
Until the next few sets, but...
Which is why Bellringer Angel remains a staple into this expansion.
True.
Sorry guys, you are going to need to spend for your Bellringer Angels.
Yeah.
If you don't have them by now.
And heck, if you're already playing a discard build, you're already drawing stuff off. You're just adding stuff like Trail of Light and things like that.
The problem is, those are primarily going to be 1-for-1s versus a -1.
Yeah.
And Imperial Dragoon wants to discard at least 6 or something, but I don't think that's reliable.
Yeah, it's kind of like I kind of think it's like the Atomic Nuke type of card, but...
It very much is. Like, I just kind of like, okay, I could burn 4.
But honestly, think about this too, right?
I could burn 6, but why burn 6 when I could just...
You have better lethals. That's why people still play good
Why
stuff.
not just evolve Dark Dragoon 4K, take the 7?
Or prop a Genesis Dragon for 1 more extra play point.
Why not just swing for 10?
Yeah, and it's not just that too. It's like comparing this to like Daria, which you have to discard your hand here. Dragon, you have to hold your hand a lot. I will honestly say. So having to nuke this and your only benefit is...
I would make the argument that with discard Dragon, you're not holding up your hand a lot.
No, you're not, because you're drawing a lot within this variant.
On top of that, you're just trying to go, can I spawn more Hellflame Dragon tokens?
Yeah, and then last card, talk about Wildfire Dragon Nuke. You get 2 less to play, plop. So why not?
My problem with this card is it doesn't come with Rush like the Hellflame Dragon tokens, and she needs to be in your hand at the right time, which I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, I still put it in my Theorycraft discard dragon deck. But, okay, what do we talk about this in general? I honestly feel like other than the Havencraft builds, because we have stuff like Alana, which is not really curved yet, but at the same time, too, I feel like Haven is really, you put a lot of Vein Thorough Control usage.
Alana's player at least gives the heal-heavy builds some actual, like, hey, I have a board, it's gonna grow.
Yeah, so at least you'll have that going for it. But
of course, at least here is Nerf versus the digital version. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
that card was degenerate in the digital version.
But honestly, what we say about these stuff, I honestly feel like is just not carved out as well as some other introductions to archetypes. I feel like in a bit of a spoiler for future sets, Evolve kind of realized this. I just feel like that this is really just not as a good introduction for for a lot of new archetype utilizations.
I think the problem is really just because it was so early on in Shadowverse Evolve's development, they weren't very sure about how to do this without breaking the game.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Let's just go for the safe option.
Honestly, this is kind of an issue they're dealing with right now with Set 7. They don't want to release anything that was thoroughly broken with Machina and
Like, for example, Mongo Scarlet Rebel. Oh,
yeah, we do not want to release. Yeah, they don't want to release stuff like that. But I feel like if they're going to give small pieces, they need to give it to it's thoroughly playable. Like the Mysteria engine, sure you can decide to do that. The Levin engine, not really. And then discard has potential, and that's the big thing I'm going to state here. These archetypes have potential. They just need time. So
they need time and some tender loving care from the developers.
Yeah, which they'll get it in due time. But again, this is something that's a bit. I'm a bit weary about.
I would say this. Your bet with these archetypes is really just if you really believe in them, grab them now so that when it comes time for them to get their real support, you already have a really worry about like dumb secondary market shenanigans.
Let's go back to the neutral stuff. Heck, Dark Angel Olivia, heavily recommend stocking that. As really the neutral cards like Bellringer Angel and things like that are always like the stock up cards. Yeah, stock up on Dark Angel Olivia and then like stock up on Surefire Bullet. I think a lot of content creators and almost everybody that just discuss about this game will say that Surefire Bullet and Dark Angel Olivia are the main I need to keep for the future.
Especially if you are going to lean towards playing tempo, mid-range, or control decks.
Yeah, and that's the same thing on it too. But that's pretty much it for talking about the winners and losers of this set. For a few honorable mention too, I would honestly say a middle of the pack would be Abyss, just because I'm not going to show like the Abysscraft 2 at the moment. But honestly, it was really tricky to Theorycraft on that. And then is there any other winners, losers, or even in between that you kind of have? Rapid fire?
I'll respond to Abysscraft really quick. So, okay, we get an expansion on the forest back stuff that they introduce in the starter deck along with the booster set.
Yeah.
And that's pretty nifty. Backs get you actually build up a board.
Hell, that's what Vania is there for.
Vania, Vampiric,
and Vania is one of the most popular follower like units in Shadowverse.
She's dark and actually on top of that.
She also has another form. Back when I started playing in Shadowverse, but anyways, and then
on top of that, we also get some nice stuff that works for more of a control heavy Abysscraft build.
And side note, we are not getting Law plus Darkness. I know a lot of people are upset about that.
We get things like Soul Dealer, Underworld,
a Watchman,
Kali, and a card that became infamous in Japan as a Soul.
Yeah. And heck, I mean, also, just to go a little bit on that, Vampiric Fortress, which is also going to be, I don't know if it's the winner card or if it's the top 8 card. It's a Vampire Engine can be procced.
That should be the top 8 card for Championship Showdown.
Okay, top 8, thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, I mean, I put Vampiric, I think it's not bad. And you also get that, kind of like how some Dirt players are playing with like Juno Secret Laboratory, I believe, with just getting their own consistency stuff and putting stuff to summon.
Queen Vampire from your starter deck's actually relevant.
Yeah. And then anything else you want to mention about potential honorable mentions of winners or losers?
I have one last thing to say about Abysscraft. So, you know how in decks like Dragoncraft and Havencraft, they could just heal a Gorillion?
Yeah.
Azazel Evolve says, F that noise.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No, you're shrinking.
This is a high risk, high reward type of Evolve, though. But it also has Bane, so why not?
It's a 7/7. It already forced the opponent to discard a card on play. And another beautiful thing is, if you go back to Advent of Genesis, Death's Breath relevant because it triggers fanfare in this game, unlike in the digital game.
Yeah.
Revive and say so. Do it all over again.
Yeah. But yeah, any other honorable mentions you want to mention before we end the video?
Let's take a look.
Here's the classes, just to be sure. Any specific cards?
I think we pretty much touched up on what we were trying to touch up on.
Yeah, but I think the main conclusion is that some classes are just got miles thoroughbare support. This is usually the case with every thorough booster, but honestly, I really think that the main winners are really going to be the ones that really showcase themselves on the top heading forward.
Right, so in conclusion, Havencraft going to be rising up, Dragoncraft.
I think Havencraft's still pretty solid, but I feel like if people were kind of iffy with Havencraft, I think this is the perfect time to invest.
I would continue to fear Runecraft because it did get some pretty good quality of life across the street.
Yeah, despite being a loser, I think Runecraft we're kind of a bit harsh with Runecraft, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's just more so about the support, not about the entire class. So, and then that's the same thing for Forestcraft, but Forestcraft is playing the long-term game.
They really are. They're heavily weighting.
Yeah, but overall, this is a set that really excelled a lot of thorough decks, and also made a great entry points with some potential decks. Like
on top of that, it is up the format to being less solvable. If that makes any sense.
True, and it's also not going to be super aggro push, which a lot of more English players are more prone to, just like in some of the other card games.
Again, the fact that we're gonna cook up something like hybrid dirt spelching, says money.
And it's not just that too. It's like
or the fact that far more of us in English are playing aggro abyss.
Yeah, and it's not just that. Side Games is definitely wanting to go put control on the forefront with this set. I really think with I actually left half in the Genesis. It should be really Bahamut, but I honestly think that with a lot of the cards, especially when I talked about the neutral pool earlier, those cards are really pushing control. At least this set. In the next sets, it's not going to be like that, 100%. But if you really want to play control, this is a pretty good time to play control. So yeah, or mid range or tempo. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Any last words you have on the set?
Honestly, with the game kind of in a bit of a low state the past 2 or 3 weeks, I'm very hopeful that this plug is going to see some revitalization of the local scene, maybe even of the championship showdown circuit. I'm excited. I love that this one new expansion is going to open up the doors to a relatively diverse format, given what I've seen with English so far. I think we're much more open to cooking versus JP.
And I honestly think too.
I don't know if you really saw this in the JP format, but I feel like overall, the PO2 Rikka Bahamut in JP was kind of a continuation of the same old.
Correct. Yeah. And we have a lot of the main openness, and that's why I like the theory crafting aspect, especially within the West. Is a lot of people are.
Like you English players, you're the real goal.
No, I'm not just that too. We literally made like 4 different Flaming Glass when everyone initially said Flaming Glass was very bad.
On top of that, across so many of the World Invitational Regional competitions so far, we've proven that we don't have to be a carbon copy of the JP format during the same time.
Correct, yes. Like, Rosemont is the best example from the past. And I also will say something about this, too. This set is going to really determine if people will still be having a retention on the game. This set will heavily determine retention. Either that, or more so, it's just going to be like ebbs and flows of who's going to come in, who's going to come out. But honestly, after coming out of that first set, let's see how much people are really interested within the next set and the future.
I remain pretty hopeful because of the fact that this expansion just opens up the possibilities to so many recipes.
And honestly, I agree with you. And the reason why I also say that is because I really think that a lot of people like the quality of life in this game compared to some of the other thorough DCGs that are out there too. Because people coming out from a lot of mains coming out from Big 3, even coming out from regular Shadowverse, already have some good familiar utilization and some stuff within this game. The only reason why people kind of got burned out is because of the thorough gap, but we'll still see in due time.
Yeah, again, maybe we could like do a video topic on 2 month gaps versus 3 month gaps.
Yeah, that would be definitely pretty good. So feel free to comment down below.
Really quick, JP's been doing 2 month gaps for about half a year now.
Which I 100% prefer. I'm all in on that as my stance. Mainly because I consistently play the GP format and I just like having new cards immediately out of the gate. But other than that, I think that's going to be pretty much it within this video. Once again, make sure to go check out our stream on Saturday at 6 p.m. I'll be commentating all the Swiss rounds and even top 8, and then you'll be joining me for top 8 Twintail. And other than that, thank you all for joining in. Any last words, Twintail?
Overall, I hope y'all have a fun next autumn into the winter of Ring of Bahamut. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I sometimes go, man, I'm just playing the same old Control Dragon build for the past 3 months. I switch cards in and out to just kind of see like what I got.
Same here. I do the same thing for my locals.
But yeah, you know what? I have upwards of 3 decks that I want to try out across 2 classes for the next expansion, so I'm excited for that. I want to see just what English is going to cook overall.
Yeah. Alright, other than that, thank you all for joining in. Continue to embrace the darkness, and we will see you all in the next video.
Bye-bye.